This is the Friday, June 5th, 2015 version of the Market Plus segment. Joining us now is Tomm Pfitzenmaier. Tom, welcome back.
Thanks, Mike.
We do have several questions here from our followers on social media, and Ben in Huxley, Iowa, is curious about soybeans. He says he sold some new crop beans earlier this week, and of course, price went up after he sold. Is there any more strength in beans?
There could be. I mean, we took a run up in November beans up to around 920 or a little above that. And then settled back. You could run them back up in that 925 to 950 range. That wouldn't surprise me. But there's some there's some uncertainty about acreage yet, and whether these southern production areas, by southern I mean southern Iowa and Missouri, are going to get planted, and that's probably going to hold the market up. But you got a real headwind. The South American farmers have been very willing, both in Argentina and Brazil. They've been moving things right along. Meal in China is at 8-year lows. They've been liquidating their pork herds over there, their sows and hogs. They haven't bought any beans from us for 7 weeks. I mean, they're penciled in for 29 to 31 million metric ton. They've only bought like 2.6 million. So we've got a bit of a demand problem there shaping up. It looks like the crop's going to be good. We're eventually going to get it planted. The good to excellent rating is expected to be 70 to 74% coming up in this initial report Monday afternoon. So there's a lot of reasons for beans to not go up. I mean, you're competing against the huge South American crop and a big carryout from the U.S. last year.
Now, watching the crush, we've seen bean meal just basically fall apart almost week after week. Is there still room to run to the downside in this bean meal?
Oh, absolutely. I think eventually here you'll see meal sub 300. So some people are urging livestock producers to get that covered. I don't see any big in a downtrending market like this. What's the big hurry? I mean, I think that's a calculation even the Chinese have made. What's the big hurry?
Just hand to mouth until we find a bottom.
And having said all that, it seems to me, and I understand his feeling of I made a sale today and now it went up a little bit and I could have done better, and I get that. That happens to me about 40 times a week, but I think the trend is still going to be down, and when it goes up, you got to keep selling into it.
Now, bean oil has been a bullish story here the last 3 weeks. Does bean oil have enough momentum to lift bean futures as a whole?
It never does. I mean, you never have a good bean rally led by bean oil. And bean oil has been supported by the canola market. The central and northern Manitoba had some severe frost. They're probably going to have to replant a lot of the canola crop, which they can do. But it's what grows this now is going to have reduced yield. So that's been kind of cooking in the pardon the pun, in the bean oil market. But generally speaking, it doesn't. I mean, you saw it when you first made your announcement on the show. Bean oil was up and meal was down. Well, that was just a result of people unwinding spreads because they've been doing that the other way for quite a long time, and I just don't see. We had that RFS, which was kind of supportive of the bean oil. I think all it did was offset the trans fats ban that reduced bean oil demand. So
a wash at the end of the day on demand.
Basically.
All right. Now, we do have a couple of questions here. Corn, curious on corn. We've got Holly in Iowa, and she's curious. In 2013, the Farm Journal projected corn to be at $275 by 2015, and it's still in the mid-threes. What's creating these higher prices? Why isn't corn as low as everybody anticipated it'd be, especially last year? Well,
demand's been fairly decent. That's helped support it. Coming out of 13, things were a little tight. Farmer holding was fairly tight. We still had to carry out in that 1.2 billion range, I think, at that time. And I think it's just taken a little longer to rebuild stocks than we thought it was going to. Obviously, a record crop last year went a long way to helping that. I don't know. I think eventually it's going to work its way down, but it hasn't gone down as fast as some might have thought. And all of a sudden you've got big competition all of a sudden that's cropped up from Ukraine. You've got big competition. Argentina had a big corn crop. The second Safrinha Brazilian crop was pretty darn good. So you got some other external factors. And one of the things we've had trouble recognizing in the U.S. is that we're not the only producers. I mean, for years and years and years, we were it. Well, there's some competition, and I think eventually that's going to continue to weigh on corn prices.
Is that 275 still in the cards for 2015 here by year's end?
If you're talking futures, I don't think so. I think maybe 3 to 320. I'd be surprised if we slipped under 3. Maybe we could if everything's perfect, but I guess I'd be surprised.
All right. Now, Phil in Ontario, Canada's building on everything you've just discussed. His mind is on corn, and he says, despite benign weather, this still isn't 2014, and he's curious, will acres and yield be down, or at this point, is that just wishful thinking?
I guess I'm not sure what he means by 2014. Because we had a record crop last year and we can't have one this year, if that's the point, I guess I'm not sure I'm buying that story yet. There's still a lot of uncertainty about what exactly the acreage was. A lot of places that we talked to where they thought beans were going to come up, corn's popping up. The demand for fertilizer was stronger than they thought it was going to be. So I guess I'm not totally convinced that the USDA is that far off on their acreage estimate. We've got a good to excellent rating on the crop of 74%. Last year it was 76. We're only off that a little bit. We've got an El Nino. We've got the crop planted early. We've got excellent subsoil everywhere. And I don't understand. There's some apprehension because a lot of the corn got planted in a pretty tight window, and so it's going to pollinate a lot of it probably in that 5th to the 20th of July. So if there's a heat problem during that 2-week period, then this market probably is going to have some go. Barring that, I think it's going to struggle. Okay,
and we'll be watching those lower futures prices and lower cash prices, as you mentioned on the show, as farmers go to move this huge supply of old crop corn. We're going to see basis start to slip.
Yep, that's really could be a huge problem because that's going to spill over and be a problem for new crop too.
You bet. Well, Tomm Pfitzenmaier, thanks for taking the time to join us this week.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks to all of you for sending in your questions via Facebook and Twitter. Please continue to do so, and we'll get expert analysis right to you. Thanks for watching, and have a great week.